It finally happened. My first split one race outside of rookies in LFM. You see, in the last few weeks I've been slowly chipping away at my elo, but when you drive at the busy times of the week, you tend to sneak into split 2. However, this midday race at Silverstone was enough entries to just have one split, and it resulted in the highest strength of field I have ever driven against. I was keen to test myself against these top drivers, and with the focus this week on the pit stop, I was hoping to have a better performance in that area of the race as well. Now with a 40 car field, there was always going to be some drama, so let's dive into qualifying and see how I stack up against some of the best in LFM. Jumping out of the lane now for this qualifying session of this 45-minute race, and as you can see, I've got really hot temperatures for this one, 33 degrees, far from optimal. So I was certainly interested to see A, how the car was going to handle this, and B, where I would stack up in such a strong split one field. And we're going to jump now into my qualifying lap, the fastest lap of this session. I aborted my first go at this based on my tyres just being a little bit too hot at the end of the first lap and some traffic. A 40 car field for this one, so finding some clean space was certainly a bit of a mission. We're coming through Beckett's now, and as you can see, it's my first flying lap of this stint, and really it was due to that tyre temperature, due to the air temperature, that was really causing some troubles for me as I went on to produce consequently with slower lap times through the stint. I'll be coming down the hanger straight now, up towards Stowe Corner, turn number 7, third gear, try and feed it towards the apex and try and run it nice and wide out onto that outside rumble strip, and I don't go all the way out. I'm trying to be relatively conservative for this lap to put a time on the board. My last few 45-minute races have been shockers of qualifying, and it makes it a really long day if you're not where you should be on the grid for these ones. Again, a 40 car field. I didn't want to be making that mistake here. Coming through what is the Formula 1 turn number 1, Abbey Corner, and then up here towards the loop. This was probably part of the track that I was pretty strong in, and I certainly was seeing that through the race as well. Coming around this top section here and feeding it out of the hairpin, first gear, down the Wellington straight now, making our way down to that final set of corners, and overall I was pretty happy with this lap so far, but no indicated time there, so I didn't really know where things were stacking up. Throwing it into the final sequence of corners here. This is a part of the track I was really struggling to find time on earlier in the week in practice, but we're starting to get it a little bit better now in this session. And coming towards the start-finish line, we're going to find ourselves setting a 1 minute 59.277, and it puts us up to P13. And as you can see, that tyre temperature was really starting to get up through the session here, and while I was close to improving on some of these laps, it was really hard, particularly see in this corner here, just the car wanted to slide on that tyre temperature, couldn't really get it hooked up the same, and was starting to get away from me in a lot of places. So a few laps of trying, unfortunately no improvements. Going to jump into the race now, and you can see I've only lost one position, even though the last 7 minutes of that qualifying session I made no improvement. So it certainly seemed that the first flying lap for most drivers was their best, and as a result P14 as a start. We're on the outside, and I've been in this position in a race prior. It went pretty well for me. I almost speed in the start box there. I get up to 74.7 or something. It was really close. I was very lucky not to pick up a drive-through penalty straight out of the gate. We go wide on turn 1, we lose one position there, and we come through Agats and Beckett's section for the first time. Nice and relaxed through here, just staying single file, but there's an incident up front. The Porsche, he spins out. The inside line opens up for me. I immediately take it and find myself directly behind this Mustang, having gained a handful of positions through that opening section. Now, dual card number 7 Mustang was not someone that I was really expecting to be playing against in this particular race, so I don't make any attempts at a pass here, and if anything, with the space behind me coming through Stowe Corner, I was really keen just to settle in here and see if I couldn't follow this Mustang for a little while.
coming down onto the Hamilton straight for the first time. It was certainly looking like I could probably try and stick with him a little bit here and spend the first part of my race simply following and seeing if we can't learn a thing or two from some of these higher ELO players. Coming up to the loop for the first time. Again, I'm sort of a second and a half away from the P12 car, so it's nice and comfortable here, just letting the tyres come up to temperature. Don't want to do anything too crazy in this opening section of the race. Down the Wellington straight for the first time, and the nerves were starting to drop away. I definitely am still getting very nervous for these starts, so it was nice to sort of get a nice clean first lap here and think about the rest of the race. And through the final corners for the first time, still on the back of this Mustang, so a successful opening lap for me in this 45-minute race. But we're going to jump ahead a little bit here to a few laps in, 40 minutes and 44 seconds still to go. We've lost about a second to the Mustang in front, and as you can see, that car number 9 Ferrari, he's starting to make a little bit of an inroad on me. Make a bit of a mess of Beckett's, and we come out onto the straight, and the Ferrari, he starts to gain a little bit further on me as well, so I'm definitely not able to sort of hold the pace of these faster drivers around me. And a lap later, we're going to come down into the loop, and that Ferrari, he's now right on me, and I'm certainly not looking forward anymore. Just trying to see where this Ferrari wants to pass me. I don't really want to be involved with a door card number 9 car at this stage. I was very aware that the top 10 drivers of this race were a significantly better ELO than me, not really the fight that I was in for today. And as we come out of Abbey on the lap number 4, he definitely has got a run on me. I let him go down the inside, trying to not lose too much time in that pass. And then we skip ahead a few minutes, and we've seen a similar scenario as prior. Those quicker cars have just started to skip away from me, and the group behind has slowly been coming up towards the back of me. I was relatively happy with how I was driving, was able to do a 59.8 earlier in the race, and I'm still hovering around the low 2 minutes, if not high 1 minute 59s. But some of these other drivers, again, they're all higher ELO than me to a point, so they've just got a little bit more consistency, a little bit more speed, but we're still 15 minutes into this race and really holding down this P11 position at this stage. Now on the start of lap number 9, I do make quite a mess of Beckett's here, and it results in a very slow run onto the hangar straight. This pink Ferrari behind me, as I said, has been sniffing away the last few laps, and he's definitely got a proper run on me for this lap. He shows the nose down the inside. I brake early, let him come up the inside there, but he doesn't come past super fast. I'm sort of hung out on the outside there, get a slow run out of Stowe Corner, and this green Audi, he has a bit of a lunge down the inside here. We go side by side now as we make our way around this tight corner, and I still manage to hold my line, but as we come onto the Hamilton straight, you can see he's got a better exit, and he is right behind me here as we come down to Abbey. I'm trying to cover the corner a little bit, but unfortunately I get really loose in the middle of Abbey there. He's really lucky that this green Audi doesn't collect me. I straighten up, I go to that runoff area, and unfortunately with trying to be a nice steady entry here, I do lose all these positions here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions I've lost inside this lap. It's really unfortunate to lose such a chunk of positions for just one small error. So we're going to start thinking about the pit stop here. The Mustang behind me on this particular lap, he's got a good run. I'm trying to adjust the tyre pressures a little bit here. I wanted a bit more front tyre pressure and a little less on the rear, just to see if I can't bring the car to life a little bit for the second stint. And we're going to dive into the pit lane here, and this has been the focus of the week. I've done a race prior which I didn't record, but the pit stop went pretty well, and ultimately I've got a new steering wheel and it's got a bunch more buttons. I've been trying to execute some of these things a little bit better in these 2 races. As you see, I've already made those adjustments during the race, which is something I hadn't done before, so with some success there. And this is the part that I'm still really struggling with, just managing to pull up short in the box there by a fair amount, unfortunately. Still struggling to get into the box really cleanly. But you can see, with having the start button now on the wheel, I get a much quicker exit out of the lane here. So overall, it has been a really big improvement from the pit stop side of things for this particular week. But still some things to work on, but I'm really happy with how this part of my driving has gone. It's definitely making some steps forward. Now we come out of the pit lane, I'm 5 seconds in front of the one and only Bongo Racing, Mr. Robin Tate. So there's a bit of a YouTuber battle going on here, not that he knows who I am at this stage. And then a lap later we can see this Mustang, the door car number 4. He was just in front of me when we came into the pits. He had made his way up and passed me in that first stint. So he was sort of my benchmark now for this second phase of the race. I'm going to jump ahead now to 10 minutes to go, and as you can see, I'm still only a couple of seconds behind this Mustang in front. And we've been slowly making our way towards the group of cars that initially passed me at the end of the first stint. Judging by the time difference there, I've taken tyres while other cars have not. So there's a bit of a tyre advantage. My car feels a lot better this stint than it did the first stint, with some of those pressure changes. So I've got a little bit more to fight with, but obviously a bit more time to make up as well. But this has been quite an intense stint so far. This pace of these guys is relentless in my opinion, and it's just a case that you cannot let up at all. You can see I'm still doing those sort of low 2 minutes or high 159s, so I'm still able to kind of find a bit of consistency, but any little mistake and you're going to lose touch with these guys. And I've still got this door card number 15 Mercedes behind me. It's definitely putting on some pressure. We come to 6 minutes to go now. You see the Mustang, he's made his way to the back of the train. We've got that green Audi, who's the car directly behind me when I made that mistake in the first stint. So we're all starting to come back together a little bit. And again, this Mercedes behind me, he's still got the pressure on behind, so I cannot make any mistakes here. 4.5 minutes to go now, and we're all in the same train, so this grouping is really starting to come together now, and we've got a little bit of a thought of gaining a couple of positions, hopefully by the end of this race. We've got a yellow flag in front of us. That's for an incident up front. Fortunately that clears, so we're not really sure exactly what's going on here. Coming up towards the loop though, and if you can see in the distance, there's a couple of cars going side by side into the top of the loop, and as we come around this corner we see the pink Ferrari, he's turned around, and on the slow-mo there's a McLaren on the infield as well. So we've gained a couple of positions from a little bit of a mix-up there. 4 minutes to go, this race is really starting to heat up here. Coming down into the final section, the Mercedes, he's now really starting to sniff down the inside. So I have to be really careful about whereabouts he is going to try and make a move. He's been looking relatively aggressive in a couple of the corners now. But we're right behind this Audi as we come into the home straight. A few laps to go at this point, so these are the sort of scenarios that I don't really do very often. Coming into the first corner here, don't quite get it right. Being under the rear wing of another car is something I'm still getting used to. Make a bit of mistake, and that gives the Mercedes a run down the inside. I back out of it. I don't want to be going side by side through maggots and bigots at this stage of the race. But we lose a fair bit of time in that, unfortunately, so I'm on the chase once more. Coming through Abbey, got about 3 laps to go at this stage. Mercedes, he's got a really good run on the Audi this time around. He dives down the inside, and as we come out, there is a Honda on the outside of the track there, so we're going to pick up one more position, move myself back into position 16. Mercedes move, he gets that one done, so we're back behind this Audi now, and this is my focus for the last part of the race, seeing if we cannot put a move on this Audi. And with a lap and a half to go, we're going to show the rest of the race now, because we're right behind this Audi, just trying to come into the section now where I've got a bit more pace on him, being a lot better through Abbey into the loop. So that's probably the key area of the track that I'm trying to make a move on him. Don't quite get it right this time round, so I'm not close enough to be looking at a move there. and we come down now into the loop. Overall, I've been pretty happy with how the race has gone so far. Starting P14 and still being in P16 with some cars close around me, I feel is a bit of a win. I've avoided any of the accidents that have been around me, and I've yet to have any contact with any of the cars in this race. Picking up a couple of incident points, but it's been really clean, and it's certainly been my go-to scenario in some of these races. Staying clean, staying out of trouble, letting the race come back to me, it's certainly been paying off. Certainly lacking some pace still, but considering how good a split this is, I have been relatively happy to really have some of those higher ELO cars behind me and to be showing some good pace compared to some of the guys around me as well. Now we're going to come into turn 1 for the final time. We get one final lifeline in terms of positioning. This Honda on the outside of the track here, he's been involved in some sort of incident, I feel. So I'm going to come through position 15 now, and you see in the rear vision mirrors he comes through Beckett's, he loses the rear end, so there's absolutely no pressure now on me from behind. Just a straight final look at this Audi coming through the last lap. Getting to the end of the hangar straight once more, and we're coming to that section where I've been able to put some time into him and trying to set up hopefully a bit of a move here, getting a much better exit out of Stowe Corner. Come down now into Club, and fortunately we get this next section relatively okay, but the Audi, he's still got some pace, so no mistakes from him, still a few car lengths. I'm just hoping for a really good run through Abbey, and we'll see what can come of it. Unfortunately, I get it right this time, a lot more curb. Audi, he misses the curb a bit, he opens up the steering, goes a bit defensive. We try go down the outside, try the crisscross, doesn't quite work out in this rate. Trying to get a good run down the Wellington straight here, but you can see I turn in a little bit early, got to back out of it to miss the sausage curb. And unfortunately, with a few car lengths, it's not going to be an opportunity to have a go through these final corners. So we hit the braking markers, we're coming through that final corner now, and P15, like I said, I think is a really good result for me in such a big field, in such a high quality field, with particularly those top 10 guys, and another successful time in LFM. I'll take the wins on this one. There's certainly lots of positives. The speed is coming, the consistency is there, the racecraft is slowly starting to work, and overall another positive race for me in LFM.
So there we are, a pretty strong performance from me considering the level of driver around me in this particular race. Now, the hot temperatures certainly threw a bit of a curveball for me, and I was happy enough with the consistency of my pace during this race. It was a good call to change those tyre pressures during the stop, and actually the pit stop was a real win for me, being considerably more successful than in previous races. The change of wheel with the additional buttons has certainly helped with that, and there'll be another video coming out to show that wheel and show the differences that I've been seeing using that versus the previous round wheel that I had on the rig. And the other highlight of that race was just having 2 off tracks meant that I gained another 0.38 in safety rating, and the 60 ELO I gained for that 15th place finish meant that I am now, after 25 races, silver category in LFM. So far I'm really happy with my time outside of rookies, and excited for the racing that is going to come next week, including a very special race for the first time, but we'll talk about that one then. As always guys, if you're enjoying this content, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new, then please feel free to subscribe and follow this exciting journey as it unfolds. I have more helpful videos coming out in the near future as well, and as always, race hard, stay positive. We'll see you all very soon for another one. Cheers.